I don't know what I'm doing. Is it? Doesn't look like it's working.
It was. It was. Hold your phone in front of her.
Is it working? Hey, look at that. My internet connection is unstable. Good luck, everyone who's online. I'm going to text John. Make sure he's.
What network are you on? Fellow Wi-Fi?
I'm on the Fellow Wi-Fi.
Work at Fellow?
Yeah.
Work at Oh, that worked.
Did it work?
Yeah.
Nice. Hey, John's online. All right, what do you see, Jacob? Can you see what's, so you see my monitor. That's hard. Let's see. How about now? Totally know what I'm doing.
It's perfect. I have never seen a better in the last 10 minutes.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome. Thank you for live streaming this so I don't have to fly to Spokane.
Hey, but we love it when you're in person. Just saying.
Actually say that when I'm in person.
Okay,
All
so
right.
I think we're ready. I'm gonna mute you, John. Sorry.
Good luck.
I think you can chat to me though. So if you have
Okay. I'm gonna turn my video off too.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna get started. It's totally working great. Everything's fine. I'm gonna stay seated because that's where the camera is. So this is about a half-hour talk. This is my talk that I gave at the PNSQC, which is a horrible acronym, and I acknowledge that. I'm pretty sure they do also, but it stands for Pacific Northwest Software Quality Conference, okay, which is a great conference, and I highly recommend going. It's in Portland, and it's just fantastic, okay? Yeah, and so it was on diverse teams are essential to quality software. And so I'm trying to draw in my two different worlds into this one tangible aspect, okay? So there will be plenty of time for questions at the end. Feel free to raise your hand though if you want. That includes you, John. Okay, and I'm gonna use my clicker because I love it, even though I have a keyboard. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Maybe? Hang on. Totally know what I'm doing. Maybe. Ugh, because I'm sitting here, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, now we're moving. All right, so here's an overview. So we're gonna have a little introduction. And for the record, I also have a paper that goes with this. So if anyone is really excited about reading a technical paper, let me know. I haven't seen it posted on their conference site yet, so I don't know when they will get that up. But I have a copy of it because I wrote it, and I'm happy to share. So email me or message me on whatever. I'm happy to send it over. Okay, so introduction, we'll do a little bit of an overview of what are the benefits of diversity and diverse teams. And then we'll do a brief history of diversity and technology. We'll talk about where we are at currently in regards to diversity and technology. And then we'll talk about what we can do to improve the diversity, which is kind of a lead into where we are, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Okay. And so to get us started, a little bit of background. So I kind of shared with you all over there, and most of you know me anyway, but just since I have this slide and I have this cool photo that my work took over the summer. Okay, so I'm from Spokane. My academic background is in computer science, which is why I'm really good at clickers and things. Yeah. Okay, 15 years in software engineering, mostly in quality assurance, and more recently in DevOps. So my current job, my day job, is at Risklens as a lead DevOps engineer, and then my non-day job, which is my non-paying job, is I founded a nonprofit called Future Ada, which I'll go into a little bit more in a second. And then I do a bunch of other things in the community, and big fan of feminist. I'm not afraid to use that word. Too afraid anyway. And diversity advocate. Okay. So just brief introduction to Risklens. So we're a startup company, and they supported me going to PNSQC, which was awesome. So definitely giving them a shout out. We're headquartered here in Spokane, but we also have all of our executives and sales folks are in DC, which is super cool. And I keep requesting for more meetings in DC. We'll see how that goes. And what we do is we build software that is cyber risk quantification and management software, which is a lot of big words strung together. But effectively it boils down to we write software so that information security people can come up with numbers that sound good to business folks who need to be paying for all of the technology that security people want, right? Okay. And we use the FAIR ontology, which is this nice little graph. If you would like to know more about this, feel free to talk to me afterwards. It's really interesting. There's a whole book you can read that our founder wrote. Many books. Good stuff. Okay, and then so my nonprofit, so I founded Future Ada last year. We're a 501c3. And we're based also in Spokane. We're named after Ada Lovelace. Does anyone know who Ada Lovelace is? People? Sean has no idea. For some reason, I think he's lying. Wow. Okay. Well, So what we do is we advocate and support women and non-binary individuals in STEAM. So STEAM is STEM with art inserted into it. It's supposed to make it more creative and more inclusive for all of these fields. And our ultimate goal is for all the STEAM industries to be diverse and fully inclusive. So that's a little bit broader than our immediate mission, but ultimate goal. All right, so what are the benefits of diversity? Besides cuteness in this case. Okay. Does everyone know who Justin Trudeau is? No? So he has this great quote, diversity is the engine of invention, it generates creativity and enriches the world, right? And Justin Trudeau doesn't do anything wrong and everything he says is correct. So obviously, you should listen to him. And then Google has a big diversity department, or division, I guess is probably what it is. And their CEO says, a diverse mix of voices leads to better discussions, decisions, and outcomes for everybody. And then this is one of my favorite quotes, also from Google. If we only have dudes developing software, they're only solving problems that dudes have. I feel like that's pretty spot on, right? Because like, really, if you're thinking of what problems to solve in the world, you're coming at it from your perspective, right? And I know what problems I have. I don't necessarily know what problems Sean has, except for they're probably garden related. But I don't know beyond that. I don't know what that means. And so I don't know. I can't solve Sean's problems necessarily without Sean being included in the conversation so he can tell me what problems Sean has so that we can work on a solution, right? And then the bigger the problem is, the more like problems we're trying to solve, we should have more people at the table so that we can get all those perspectives. Otherwise, again, we have a limited view and that's all we can come up with. Dude problems. And then if we need something that's a little bit more substantial for like a business person who's really concerned about the bottom line. We have this lovely quote from one of my new favorite books. So in the United States, there's a linear relationship between racial and ethnic diversity and better financial performance. So for every 10% increase in racial and ethnic diversity at the senior executive team, and you could just kind of, cascade that out, that the earnings are going to go up 0.8%, right? So, I mean, there is an actual bottom line increase, right? So if that is the thing that you need to sell this to business people or executives, then feel free to use it, because these are real studies that, I mean, there's more studies than I have them in my paper if you actually need more, evidence, Sean. So you're welcome. Also, everyone should read this book if you are bored or you need a next reading opportunity or whatever. It's a great book. All right, so let's talk about the history of diversity in tech, okay? So we have some famous women from tech history. Can anyone name one? Hey! We have people listening, thank you! Okay, so we have a few. We have Ada Lovelace, Grace Hopper, Katherine Johnson. Does anyone know what Grace Hopper is famous for? Anyone? Bueller? She was in the Navy.
Okay.
Yep. And then so she came up with COBOL. I don't think she.
That's probably more
Yeah. So Grace Hopper she invented COBOL. She invented the first compiler, and she also found a moth in her giant computer. You should know this, Sean.
The moth right now. I just knew it was a man.
Killing me, Sean.
No, she's very good.
I got the opportunity to go to DC for a work meeting over the summer, and I got to go to Arlington Cemetery. And since she was in the Navy, she was totally buried there, and I got to see her gravestone, and it was amazing. And I didn't really know how to deal with it correctly, but it was wonderful, and I take the opportunity to go do that if you have a chance. Okay, and then who knows about Katherine Johnson? Yeah. Did anyone see this movie? Hidden Figures. Okay, so definitely check it out. It's a movie. It's also a book, but if movies are faster sometimes and a little bit more visual, so you can eat popcorn while you're doing it. Definitely check it out. Fantastic. So the point of this is there actually was a lot of really prominent women, diverse folks in our history, right? And I think we forget that a lot these days because everything's kind of shifted, and we just think of tech as this white dude. I keep using that word, so hopefully everyone's cool with that, but that's how I view it. But it's white men that basically rule the industry, right? Silicon Valley, white guys everywhere, right? And so, but it wasn't the history. That's not where we came from, right? It was founded on women making this, the way it is. All right, so let's look at where we are today, current state. So this is not a super easy graph to read from afar, but the important part to look at is the red line. That's computer science, women in computer science. And you might notice that as we are increasing in time, the line is dropping. So in the other sciences, so we have physical science, law school, and medical school, they're all mostly increasing. Yeah. Yeah, so this is from National Science Foundation, American Bar Association, and the American Association of Medical Colleges. And this is from an NPR article. Okay.
So I have to ask the question, is computer science the entry to technology, or is there other?
What do you mean by that?
Well, are there other entries to technology rather than straight computer science?
Oh, well, there is now,
so
definitely.
Right, so electrical engineering or the other engineering fields, because that's my background, right? And
Sure.
I'm in technology, right? So I came through the engineering back door, not through science.
Yeah, but I mean, so this is still a computer science degree, so right? So we see increases. Oh, and you can't see I have a mouse, I swear. Oh, I have a pointer. Sorry, John. So we have the line, it goes up, right? So 1985 is about where it peaks, computer science degrees. And there are a lot of theories on why it starts to dip right here. Because, I mean, why wouldn't we just continue to have more computer science? I don't think it's because we have so many extra alternatives, especially in the 80s.
There are a few, but yeah.
Sean, do you have a question?
I have two questions, yeah. Sort of one. First question is, clearly things were on par up until around 1985, and then it dropped and it continued to drop. Does that correlate with the graph from then, and then come back up? Perhaps
The men, it just, I think,
continue with similar.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
You're pulling out computer science out of all the technical possibilities that exist after 1985 into the 1990s. If you're lumping physical science in law school and medical school, and you're pulling out computer science, that's a 3% of all the rest of those combined. So you're going to get.
But this is still just a percentage.
Right, but you're talking hundreds of thousands of people in medical school, law school, and physical sciences, and you're talking tens of thousands.
but even,
Computer science, right? So your metrics.
so this is saying, around 1985, there's 35% were women.
Right. So when you're still lumping all physical sciences together, all law degrees together, and all medical degrees together.
Oh, and a separate computer science
even as those continue to diversify, right? Computer science is not the only technical degree to get you into quality software, right?
Sure, but I
Sure,
think.
but it'd be the only thing available. When it's
Right, yes, but in that graph, but again, so if you're going to pull out general medical practitioners or heart surgeons, is the same as computer science majors.
So
right? Computer science is not the only degree that will get you a coding degree, a QA.
but this is all academic. So this is academic medical school, and
But I have a great suggestion. We have a university computer science expert in-house right now. Maybe he can.
Right.
Who's going to tell you? I mean, my percentages match.
In your experience, does it correlate with your?
So, yeah,
My red line, yeah. I have about 20, we're with about 21% female
Okay, so
CSE.
very
and that's more than Eastern. Eastern is less.
Okay, so let's go back to my original question. Is there corresponding drop in the same manner of both? Well, no, that wouldn't make sense.
Well, yes. and-
Would you guys like me to help you with the answer? I have the answer.
Okay, so I want to ask the next question.
She
So,
has the answer. Let her answer the
No, continue arguing about things that I have the answer for. This is interesting.
No. Well, yeah, that's it. I'm happy with
Yeah,
it. Right. Computer science
assuming that this,
is not the only entry. So in this case, law school is the only entry into a law degree.
But in the 80s, this was,
Medical school is the only entry to become a doctor.
in the 80s, it didn't drop off because we all of a sudden had boot camps.
Also, law school was not the only entry into a law degree until the 1980s. You can still take the bar exam in a significant number of states without having gone through law school.
Okay. So
so
but
it,
computer science as a degree, as a graduate degree, is not the only entry into the technical field.
I'm also certain that Becca has much better information, but according to the Computer Research Association from 2006 to 2015, computer science degrees surged, mostly men. Would you like to see the
Because I
study?
think-
Well, but
because that's what I didn't know, and I think I misunderstood the graph. But what happened in 1985? It feels like maybe there was some sort of social shift. or something.
There, Apple actually. It was Apple. So Apple did some marketing. Personal PC came out, or the PC, the personal computer, and it was marketed to boys and men. And so that was a paradigm shift. And that's the best theory that people have pinned it to. So, John, do you have a question?
No, I mean, I candidly, and I can't see the room obviously, but I think for all of us dudes, howdy everybody. Sorry, I can't make it there in person. The IRA, looking at data and trying to divine with some sort of interesting logic divining rod, dispute this. It seems use of time. I have seen this deck, additional data in this deck. I you this data. Got some data that you would like to present. I think that's fine. My suggestion is to not try to turn this meeting into and there's not really a problem, because people like most of the folks, we've got an dudes in power industry to, this is a real problem in this industry for, and I've seen it over and over. So I have information that Becca has here. So I would strongly prefer that we let her get along with this presentation and have dialogue. We can do it.
I don't want to make that point invalid, because it actually, right, we have a real world, right, we have real world experience that in computer science classes, only 20% of the students are women.
Or less.
In other types of technical classes, the women involved in those classes are less than desirable. 20, 10, 8%, 3%, right, whatever it is. I'm just saying that the volume tends to skew these numbers, right? So
yeah.
I mean,
So
Whole towards 50%.
How about we let Becca finish her presentation?
well,
But then that would mean that if we only have 20% computer science, does that mean another route in, you actually have 80% in another route to QA or to software? And I highly doubt that that's the case. So even if you have another route in, that was one done, I think you're still looking.
yeah, again, I'm not, I don't want to invalidate it, because I know I experienced the same thing. I've got 20 people from ITROM that work on my project, then, right? I've got one woman on my team, right? Not my decision, right? I don't get to hire people on this kind of project.
yeah. So my hope and expectation is that we let Becca, with continuing to share that she has really taken the time to research and present in the audience a counterpoint work, bring that data and post it on the meetup page after the fact. But other than that, I waste of everybody's time to start into parsing, hypothesizing it's here, because the fact in front of who's been in this industry knows this is a real problem. That's why I'm here, is to see what, and that's what I'd like to hear more from.
Thanks, John. Okay, we will continue. Good discussion. Good little sidebar. All right, moving forward. All right, so 41% of women leave technology companies after 10 years. And this was from a Harvard business review study that they did. It's in the Athena factor is the name of it. And I can attest to this. So last year I was almost one of these stats. And it's there. This is not a problem because women after 10 years are like, oh, I want to have babies. And I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom, and I've invested 10 years of my career, but now I'm just going to go in a different direction, right? That's not, there's research that shows that that's not the reason. There are still like women in all fields that fall into that category, and that's fine, but that is not the 41% stat here, right? Computer science is not like the one industry that has an overwhelming amount of women that go into it and are really invested in their career and then suddenly change their mind, right? So most of the research shows that there's things like the fact that we have a lot of harassment, we have a lot of discrimination in this industry, and after 10 years, it's just too exhausting, and they don't want to deal with it anymore. So that is what the research is showing that comes up with this stat. And it's a really horrifying stat because that you're losing tons of diversity and tons of qualified, well-trained individuals that have invested a lot in their skill sets, right? And we're just losing them. All right, so here is from the Equal Employment Opportunity, the EEOC. They have some stats on race in the industry, and Spokane is not really good at race because we're a very white town. But across the board, the industry is also very white. And so, as you can see, the numbers are pretty small for Black, Hispanic, Asians, American Indians, Hawaiians. You know, it's just mostly white. So we don't have that perspective, right? So if we're talking about diversity brings in perspectives and helps with problem solving and creativity and innovation, these are all individuals, regardless of their gender, like their race, they're coming from different cultural backgrounds, different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and we don't have their viewpoints, you know, on our problem solving sets, right? Okay, so here's a quote I really like. So when I walk into a room that happens to be filled with mostly white men, they're usually looking at me wondering why I'm here, and that needs to change, right? So she's a Black woman, right? And again, mostly white dudes in this industry, right? Even as a white woman, white cis woman, I feel this all the time, and it's something I have to be conscious of and mentally prepare myself for. And again, we shouldn't have these problems. We should. Okay. All right, so let's talk about maybe some examples of when lack of diversity went wrong. Okay. So does anyone have the YouTube app on their phone? Does anyone have an iPhone? Okay. Yes.
iPhone or Android or a different version?
Oh, Andrea, I love you so much. So when Google, the YouTube team at Google first launched their app on the Apple phone, they noticed an interesting trend that a lot of the videos were upside down. And I'm like, man, Apple users, they really don't know what they're doing, right? Turned out that they had built the app, after they did some investigation, that they built the app for right-handed people. Right? So diversity is not just gender and race. There's a whole other aspect, like it's really broad, right? And so they had to do some corrections to handle all the poor left-handed folks that got left out of the design process. It's not right. Poor left. Is anyone here left-handed?
No.
Really? Elliot?
Yeah.
Good. You are one diverse person in this category. Thank you for representing. White dudes. Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of a funny example, right? So it's pretty benign, funny, probably really annoying to Apple users, but benign still. Okay, so let's give another example that's a little bit worse. All right, so how many people have a car that has an airbag? How many people have a car that was built before 2008? Okay. So when airbags were invented long ago, they were designed to handle and tested with crash test dummies that were the average size of a man, right? So the male figure is a little bit generally taller, more broader. There's differences. A lot of female bodies are smaller and more, they're just smaller, right? That's on average, right? So the force that comes out of these airbags were designed so that like a 6'5" man can handle this and survive. So we have a 4.5-foot woman or a 5-foot woman who's tiny get behind that wheel, and there's lots of deaths and lots of critical injuries that happened, and they had lawsuits, and they made complaints to the auto industry, and the auto industry said, that sucks. And it's going to cost too much to create a crash test dummy that's a different size, and it's just a lot of work, and we'll just happily pay out lawsuits because that was how they assessed things. Okay, so that's really horrific, right? And so it wasn't until 2008 that legislation was passed to demand the auto industry tested also for women. No, that's not 2008. 2011 or something. Now I'm mixing up my numbers. Anyway, it was like yesterday is how I think of it. It's like, oh my gosh, like you think that feminism isn't needed anymore because, women got the right to vote, and what else do you need? Oh, apparently right to live and drive a car without dying. That would be helpful. I would appreciate that. So anyway, my car is too old, and so I'm thinking of buying a new car after I learned this stat. Anyway, so I have all the stats in my paper, and I'm apologize that I'm drawing a blank on 2008. That's when my car was built. I think that's when my problem is. But I think it was 2011 that legislation actually was passed. It's only 2018, right? That was not even. Anyway.
Well, especially if it passed in 2011, it probably actually happened until 2013.
Buy a new car, everybody. Like, my gosh. What? Yeah, or get an old car. I know. I was doing that for a long time. This is one of my first cars with an airbag, and it's kind of, yeah. Okay, so anyway, so that is, sorry, Zoom is giving me notifications. Okay, so anyway, so that's a really horrific example of lack of diversity on the design team, right? And they probably didn't think originally that this was an important thing to consider. It probably wasn't, it probably didn't even cross their mind because it was probably a bunch of dudes designing problems or solving problems for dudes, right? Anyway, so really important we have diverse folks on all of our teams so we don't have things like this that happen going forward. And hopefully you are never on a team that results in any kind of deaths or injuries like that. But okay, so what can we do? So maybe I've sort of convinced you that this might be sort of a problem. So if I have, then here's what you can do. So first things first, add all the cat gifs to your slides. I learned I could do this last year, and everything's been great since then. All right, so educate your team, right? So educate your leadership and your team members on why diversity is important, right? So if you just force diversity on people, odds are you're going to have some adverse reactions. People are not necessarily going to be like, why is this important? And you get a lot of, I've heard a lot of people respond with, well, we just want to hire the most, qualified human being, right? As if that includes diverse factors in everything. So it's important to be mindful of diversity and inclusion so that you can start creating an environment for that to be safely held. So you have safe space effectively for diverse people. And what's found is that if you have a safe space that diverse people are happy in and comfortable in, everyone's happier. Weird. So definitely it helps everyone to create this. So it's important, but it's important to educate everybody, okay? So you can do this through some different options, but developing an annual or semi-annual training on diversity, inclusion, and equal opportunities is recommended so that you can kind of review it regularly and have the opportunity to ask questions, find out what new ideas on how to go about this. And having this training does reduce the chances of unfavorable situations, which I really like that quote from one of my papers I have in my courses. So, okay, so another thing you can do is use this thing called inclusive language, right? So inclusive language is language that avoids the use of certain expressions or words that might be considered to exclude particular groups of people. All right, so gender-specific words such as man, mankind, or masculine pronouns are generally considered to exclude women. Okay, so and these are so ingrained into our culture and into how we speak. It will be hard, but once you start being mindful of it, you can start working on changing the way you speak. Okay, but just be aware that it is extremely difficult to rewire your brain on that. But it is well worth it so that you can start building that inclusive space, right? So respect the language people call themselves, so their preferred pronouns, their preferred names, whatever it is that they prefer. And if you don't know, ask, right? Don't just assume. Recognize there's different family situations. So a lot of times that we don't just have like mom and dad and cute kid and like the stereotypical American dream family, right? There's a lot of different family situations. 2 moms, 2 dads. We have polyamorous. We have, grandparents taking care of kids. We have all sorts of different things. So being mindful that there are different types of situations, especially when we're building software, right? Like married, divorced, single, cool. What, like, are those my options? Like, I don't know. So maybe think of other options, there's different things. Just keep in mind. Avoid negative and demeaning language around people with disabilities, but really this is for people in general, any group of people. So don't use disparaging language towards groups. Avoid using statements that perpetuate stereotypes. So like Barbie, everyone knows Barbie, right? Right, Barbie, the doll. No, Jacob doesn't know, never heard of Barbie. So Barbie fell into this a while back where girls aren't good at math, or, the computer science Barbie came out and the corresponding book, because Barbie gets a career every year. I don't know if you're aware of this. I didn't know until computer science came out, and then I was interested. But she comes with a corresponding book, and the book for the first computer science Barbie was that she needed help from the boys to do the coding because, that's what boys are for, and girls just come up with cool ideas and designs, which is not to say that that's not an important role, but to say that boys had to be the ones to help her with the coding, that was just sending the wrong message. Right? So avoid statements like that. And if you were on the Barbie team, that would be a good opportunity for you to be like, hey, QA, this is probably not an inclusive thing. We probably shouldn't ship with this. Okay, so you can come up with, put in a good 2 cents here. Be thoughtful of what imagery you use. So if you're coming up with an analogy or something, make sure that you're not using, again, imagery that might be negative towards a group of people or an individual. Okay. And then avoid idioms, jargons, and acronyms. And I can almost guarantee that there's no way we can get away with not having acronyms because this is of our industry. We're full of acronyms. We love acronyms. They're our favorite thing ever. And that's just really hard. So to get around that, because these are all very exclusive, right? So people might not understand. If I'm not a baseball fan, or if I don't like sports, I might not understand the sports analogy. Right? I'm like, okay, what does that mean if someone tells me this? But it might not feel like a safe space for me to ask a clarifying question, right? So be mindful of that. And so if you do end up using any of these things, then just give people the definition right off the bat, right? If it's in an email, include the definition, or like, it's a good example. You have a acronym for, just have acronym and then spell out what it means. Just right there up front, get it out of the way so no one has to ask, right? That's the ideal way to do it if you can. I had multiple project managers who would come to me after a meeting with engineers, and they would ping me just directly, hey, what does this mean? And what about this? And what about this? And so I would explain it to them because they didn't feel comfortable asking in front of all the engineers, right? They didn't want to look dumb, right? And not that they would, but there's a lot of egos involved in tech still. And so having, some safe spaces where, oh, it's okay if you don't know this. We want to pull you into our world by explaining it. And then use gender neutral terms as much as you can. And I like to call out the term guys is not actually gender neutral. I will also call out that is really ingrained into our society, and it is hard to break. It is one I am working on, and I'm trying really hard, and it's really fun to say things like folks and y'all. You get to say y'all. Okay, if you ever wanted an excuse to say y'all, you have one now. Okay, you don't have to be from Texas anymore. And I have more examples of inclusive language in my paper that goes with this talk. And I have more just in general that didn't make it in my paper because it was there's page limit. But if you are interested, I have a whole bunch. I can send them to you on what inclusive language to swap things for. All right, so be mindful of an unconscious bias. So I have a black cat, and he is good luck, okay? Unlike the assumption that people have, right? So be aware that unconscious bias is something that we all have, right? It's not your fault. It's not bad that you have it. The important thing is to be mindful of the fact that you have it and to make sure that your actions don't fall kind of in line with that unconscious bias, right? So unconscious biases are social stereotypes about certain people that are formed outside of our conscious awareness. Okay. And then again, from my little book called Inclusion that everyone should read. So this is often stemmed from our misconceptions around the belief that the norms and experiences of our own social group, whether defined by race, class, gender, sexual orientation, disability, religion, or some other qualifier, are or should be the same for every other social group. And that's not the reality, right? But we often have that sense that that is true, even though it's not. So being mindful of that, people come from different backgrounds, people have different paths to get to where we are right now, right? So just be mindful of those things. Okay. Empathetic leadership. So this is really important for those in leadership positions, but really we can all be a leader in our own way, regardless of our role on a team. So things to remember is that we all have, we're all people, right? Is anyone here not a person? Jacob, we got one. Okay. Most of us are people. And being a person, involves a bunch of stuff, a bunch of messy stuff often, right? So that involves, we have lives, we have families, we have hobbies, we have passions, and we have a lot of really messy emotions. We can't really get away from that. We're not robots. We are people, much as engineers might like to think otherwise. So get to know everyone on your team. Get to know them as people. Ask them questions. Create a safe space for them to bring their full selves to work, right? So they can be who they really are. They don't have to hide parts of them. They don't have to, pretend to be something they're not. If they're having a really crappy day because they stubbed their toe and the cat vomited on their way out the door, whatever, and they're in a grumpy mood, right? That should be safe for them to talk about, like even at that level. Right? It's just little things, and you can just be yourself. And recognize that there is an emotional impact on employees and your coworkers if there are major life events, right? So this could be good ones like birth, like someone just had a new child. That probably means they won't sleep for at least 3 months. That has an impact, right? Also death. So you have a family member that passes or a good friend, that has an emotional toll on people. Their productivity might go down. Again, a happy one, marriage. Someone gets married, that's really exciting, right? So that could be, but that could also it's a distraction, especially leading up to the wedding. And then also divorce, right? These all have impacts. And it's okay to recognize that these things have an impact on people and that they shouldn't be afraid to acknowledge that, right? So if you are aware of these things going on in your employees, in your coworkers' lives, you're more likely to have empathy for them if they don't finish all of their the story points for a sprint, right? Or whatever it is that they're working on, right? And maybe you'd be more willing to go in and help finish their work with them, help carry them across that finish line. Okay, so kind of in line with this, emotional intelligence is really, really important for empathetic leadership. So, and it's also proven that higher emotional quotients have a greater sensitivity and empathy, rated more effective, higher performing, and they have more effective teams and a healthier overall culture. Right, so if you have a high emotional intelligence as a leader and empathy as a leader in all of your, you can kind of pass that forward, be an example for your team is going to end up being healthier and happier overall and produce more, right? And that has nothing to do with like a diverse team or not. Like you can have a team of all white guys and they're going to respond well to this also, right? Okay, everyone knows Oprah, right? Love Oprah. So leadership is about empathy. It is about having the ability to relate to and connect with people for the purpose of inspiring and empowering their lives. Right, so how many people here are in a leadership position? So many people, Sean. Okay, so most of us, right? So that's great. So you have a really awesome opportunity to be an example for this. All right, so how many people in here are responsible for hiring people? Okay, a few people. Okay. This is a potential hire. Isn't it cute? Sorry, really like cat gifts. Okay, so things you can do to kind of bring in a more diverse pool of people, because what I hear a lot from folks is, well, no, we didn't have any diverse people apply. So, I mean, it's not my fault that I couldn't hire somebody from a diverse category because I didn't have any options. It's like, okay, well, let's back up a bit and let's see if we can try and pull in some options, okay? So when you're doing a job posting, having inclusive language, going back to that again, is really helpful. And there are like certain phrasings which are kind of a turnoff for a lot of women and diverse people because they don't necessarily identify with things like rock star or ninja as the title. Okay, so things like that, if you want to pull in more diverse people, those are some keywords to kind of avoid. If you can, and if you have one, a diversity statement is great. One that says that as a company, we are committed to diversity and we care about this because blah, blah, blah. Some sort of fancy statement that you can cater to your company, right? And put it on your website. People who are looking for a job and they see your posting, they're going to go to your website and be like, who is this company? Do I care about them? Are they a good place to work? They're going to do some research, right? And you can even put it on the job posting itself. Say, hey, we're going to be really upfront. You don't have to work very hard to get this statement because we care that much. Okay. And then reach out to underrepresented candidates via different types of networks, community groups, career fairs, and conferences. Right. So that means that, like, if you know somebody, like I have my nonprofit, and so I'm connected to a lot of opportunities and people that are underrepresented potential candidates for hire. Right? So you can reach out to me here in Spokane, but any place has going to have, any city has different groups like that, different types of organizations that you could reach out to, befriend, right? Don't just send them job postings, right? Have a relationship with that group, right? And then when you go to career fairs and conferences, make sure that you don't send somebody that doesn't fully represent your company. So I was just at a career fair last week, and a company that I am familiar with, and I like the company as a whole, had it was like a recruiter for hire rent or something. They didn't actually work for the company. They just like rented this person for the day or something. And the person was making a whole bunch of lewd comments. And one of my interns, who's a woman, heard it and came back to my office and was like, hell no. Like, what? And so we made sure that the company knew about it, because we had positive channels into the employees that work there, and let them know that you sent a recruiter that is a turnoff to a lot of people and not a good representative for your company, right? So be mindful of that. Make sure you send people you trust, people you can ensure are going to be a positive representative for you. And then when you actually pull people in, make sure your hiring panel is full of diverse people if you can. If your whole company is currently a bunch of white guys, then you do what you can, right? But if you have the opportunity to pull in like anyone else, a person of color, someone who's not a dude, pull them in and have them on the panel. Get their perspective on the candidate. Show that you care and you have, other folks that are available. And same with the hiring committee itself. And then when you are doing the interview questions, make sure that the position, you've standardized your qualifications for the job before you start interviewing anybody, okay? And same with the interview questions, right? So there's been studies that show that when presented with a man and a woman, like resume, candidate, same qualifications or slightly different, they'll shift. Like if one has more experience and the other one has more academic experience, they might come up with, oh, we care more about academic. And then they see the resume, oh, it's the woman has more academic. Well, we really cared about the experience. And that's more important. And so they'll change their qualifications on the fly to shift to their unconscious bias, right? So again, being mindful of that. And then if you standardize and you set it in stone, we care about these things up front before you talk to anybody, then that helps kind of avoid that trap, okay? And then same with the interview questions. Make sure you ask the same questions to all the candidates. You don't ask softer questions to one versus the other group of people. All right, so let's say you hire people. Finally, you get a diverse team and it's great. And how do you keep them, right? So different things you can do. Make sure you're holding employees to the same standard for their role. So if you have a QA team or a product team or whatever engineering team you have, they're all the same standard. You don't have, women are responsible for their day job also doing filing and birthdays and decorating and all of these other whatever. So, make sure that it's the same. And provide equal opportunities for promotions and raises, right? So across the board, everyone should just be treated equal. I feel like these are kind of duh things, but unconscious bias really does get in the way of doing this. So making sure that you bring attention to it and you're mindful of it again. So I'll go back to that. And then make sure all your employees have opportunity for growth. So whether that's a training, mentorship programs are great, sending people to conferences. There's a lot of conferences that are geared towards underrepresented groups. So there's Grace Hopper is a great example of a conference that's for women in technology. And then we have, there's a lot of different smaller conferences that are geared towards women or underrepresented folks. There's like the whole conference for lesbians in tech, I think has a conference. There's QueerCon at DEF CON, SubCon. There's lots of different opportunities. Find them, send your people to them so they don't feel alone, okay? Encourage a healthy work-life balance. And now I'm the first one to say work-life balance is different for everybody. Mine is definitely not the same for most people, and that's okay. But make sure you're encouraging people to find what that balance is for them and that they can stick to it. So whether that means that they need to be home at 3 o'clock for the kids, man or woman, whatever, it shouldn't matter. Everyone benefits from a healthy work-life balance. Offer maternal and paternity leave for birth or adoption. Again, you're supporting diverse people in the sense of families here, right? You want to have families. We don't want to have the standard stereotypical Silicon Valley. We only deal with 22-year-olds who have only, have all the time in the world just to work, and never have, as soon as you date or you have a family, then you're too old. Get out. We don't have time for you. All of our meetings, important meetings, are at a bar after work. And so if you can't make it because you have soccer practice, then obviously you can't come, right? So that's not inclusive, right? That's not helpful. That's like, so we want to make sure that we're being supportive of different types of families and different types of workers. And then again, flexible schedules and remote options do the same thing. A lot of women benefit from flexible schedules because they often do still end up as the primary caregiver for kids. And whether that is right or wrong or preferred or not, that seems to happen, and offering that up as an option is really helpful. Same with remote. And there's plenty of dads these days that like being home with their kids, and that should be encouraged also. So that this falls into that same category. And then probably one of the most important things is to have a zero tolerance policy for harassment and providing safe channels for reporting harassment and problems. Okay, and so a lot of policies focus on when you cross a legal line, but really once you get to that stage, you have a lot of problems in your company. right? And a lot of those problems really start a lot further back where it's not officially illegal and you're probably not covered by a policy based on how normal policies are written. But I've talked to one company here in town who they encourage reporting of even like minor bullying, right? Which isn't illegal, obviously, if you look at society. But that's where a lot of problems start. That's where you start getting a toxic environment and it just becomes unsafe and unhealthy. And if you can nip that in the bud, then that is really good and it saves you a lot of time. You're gonna save a lot of turnover. You're gonna save a lot of problems across the board, regardless of gender, race, age, whatever, right? You wanna create a healthy environment for all your employees. And so setting this up, really make sure that you have a stance. We do not tolerate this, right? We want everyone to feel safe and healthy. All right, so community organizations. So I mentioned that you can reach out to these groups. So here is a big list of ones that I'm gonna just quickly scroll through. Okay, right, so we have, this is only a small handful of organizations that are Women Who Code, Girls Who Code, or national organizations. They have local chapters all over the place, right? Project Include is, does anyone use Reddit? Anyone heard of Reddit? A couple people? Oh, thanks. Okay, so Ellen Pao was the CEO of Reddit a few years back. And then she left and she started Project Include after she had a lawsuit with a previous employer over harassment. Okay, so she has a lot of experience in this her organization is on how to create an inclusive work environment, has lots of really good resources on how to do that at any level of your company. Okay, and then Better Allies. So this is for men specifically, if you want to know how to be a better ally, right? So this is a whole website geared to you. Okay, that's good. And then at the bottom, we have some conferences. So these are some cool conferences that I highly recommend that are geared for women specifically and non-binaries. Okay, so we made it to the end. Is everyone really excited? We did it. Okay, so let's wrap up. So just kind of a last call out that really, so we're building software for people, right? It's built by people. We acknowledged earlier, everyone but Jacob is a person. So, okay, so we're all people and we're building software for people, right? There's not a whole lot of software that's built for robots specifically to use, right? There's some. But in the grand scheme of things, that's a smaller percentage, right? Most of everything we build is going to be for other people. We're trying to solve world problems, you know, on a grand scale or on a small scale, right? Like I would love to have a drone deliver me groceries. So if anyone wants to come up with that solution, well, but also for me, so that I can get on my phone and like order my groceries. That'd be great. Work on that, please. Anyway, so we're building software for people, by people. It's all about people, right? Everything is. And having diverse folks on your team is going to increase your creativity and your innovation. Okay. It's going to bring that broader perspective. And so we're going to solve problems at a better scale and better solutions. And just as a reminder, quality software really isn't just about low bug counts. Okay? People kind of get hung up on with QA. It's like, well, how many bugs was there? How many bugs did you find before it went to production? How many escaped? How many went out into production? Like those are the numbers we care about. But the quality assurance and quality software is so much broader than that, right? So it's about building the right product from the beginning, baking in quality from the get-go, making sure you're building the right solution, you're including everyone, making sure if you're building something that's like a worldwide thing, think of all the people that are out there that are not from Spokane that you're building it for, right? And those are different perspectives that you want to take into consideration, and having people that can represent those perspectives at your table is really important. Okay, so next steps, in case you want to do like a wrap up. reminder of what to do. Okay, so simple steps that you can do: inclusive language, be mindful of unconscious bias, bigger steps, foster that inclusive environment. So you're doing those smaller steps, that'll work you there. Have strong work policies, safe reporting methods, empathetic leadership. And all of these things will lead to stronger, more innovative teams, which produce better software and also better bottom line. So again, if you need a reminder that actually is a financial benefit, there is evidence to show that. So I encourage everyone to help create a space where diverse individuals want to be. That's really important. If we don't create that space, they're not going to show up. Or if they do, they will be bye, because life's too short for that, right? Okay, and again, here's that book. Definitely check this book out. They have it on Audible. Awesome. Inclusion. Jennifer Brown, she's amazing. And then here's another book, The New Alpha. So this one is a new definition of leadership for the new generation. It's really, really good. Both of these really great books. And then here's some other resources that I quoted in my slides. Ooh, get back. There we go. Okay, so I'll make these available. I'll share this link out so you can click on them. You don't have to write them down or anything. All right, and then here's my contact info, but everyone should be able to reach me also on Meetup and on Facebook, and SpoQuality, we're on Twitter. And then also here's my direct contact information and my work stuff. And then here's some cute cats. So thank you. Do we have any questions? That includes you, John, and everyone else who's online. I can send it out. I'm not sure on the rules for posting it like publicly yet, if the conference hasn't posted it, because it's copyrighted by the conference. I'm not sure, but I'm happy to email it to you. Yeah, so if you email me or message SpoQuality, message me directly, get me a message saying, hey, I want to read your paper, I'm happy to send it to you individually. Yeah, no problems with that. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Pete. Okay. Don't trip. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Rebecca, I have lots of questions, but I wish I had a notebook. That graph, very powerful graph.
The NPR one?
Yeah, I found that